Welcome to Classical 95.9 WCRI's Conducting Conversations with your host, Mike Mano. 1 hour of music and conversation with notable people in the arts, bringing you the stories of how music has impacted their lives. The show will give a behind-the-scenes look at the guest's background, interests, or special project.
Conducting Conversations is brought to you by Roberts Musical Instruments. From sheet music and brand name instruments to rentals, repairs, lessons, and more. Roberts Musical Instruments is your key to musical success. Call 823-5459. That's 823-5459.
And now here's your host, Mike Mano.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Conducting Conversations. Tonight, it's a pleasure to welcome back into our studios a regular attendee of Conducting Conversations. Kathleen Curran Monroe is here. Welcome back to the show, Kathleen.
Thank you, Mike. It's so much fun to be here. I really enjoy whenever you invite me to come.
Well, we have a good time. We learn a lot of things, and we get to hear music provided by you of the Westminster Youth String Ensemble. And we're doing the show right now because 2 weeks from now, you'll be having a concert at the Armory in Westerly, and I'm going to let you tell us all about it.
Yes, it's going to be a pops format concert. We have some classical pieces and some popular favorites, and it's always a great concert. The kids really enjoy preparing for it, and we hope you can come on the 27th.
There you go. All right, and it's at the Armory, 3 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's correct. 3 o'clock Sunday afternoon, and it's a very expensive venture for someone to go to a concert, and your tickets are not.
No, we really want the public to come. We want people to come and bring their children. It's free for children. We really are always trying to recruit young musicians, young children that would like to play. We have scholarships available for lessons, for tuition, for rental fees for instruments, and even for private lessons. So we're really trying to woo people to have their children join this organization. It's a wonderful organization. I wouldn't be part of it if it weren't.
There you go. And the tickets are just $10 for adults. And also, you're trying to raise a little charitable food drive?
Yes, for the Johnny Cake Center. The Johnny Cake Center is a wonderful place. They feed many families every month. They have a thrift store, which you can buy items really cheaply, and they're beautiful things people donate, and the money goes toward their program for families in need.
There you go. Okay, so great cause, some great music, as you'll hear. And why don't we get people in the mood and tell them what this first piece is that you brought with you?
The first piece is Sound the Trumpets by Deborah Baker Monday.
And when was this recorded, roughly?
This was recorded in December of 2024.
Oh, so relatively new. Here we go. Kathleen, the ensemble is made up of approximately how many students?
We have about 40 students.
40,
Yes,
40.
from ages 8 to 18.
Wow, okay. Now, is there an age minimum? In other words, they have to be...
If the child is 6 and they play really well, we'll take them.
You'll take them if they're
Yes,
good, right?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And how about the other end?
We have found that a lot of high school kids are very busy, so some kids decide not to play during high school. But this year we have 3 graduates that are going to go on to college, and one young man in particular, I've had him for 11 years.
Wow.
So we'll shed a few tears when we say goodbye, but hopefully he'll come back to visit. And I get so attached to these kids, and some of them I'm invited to weddings and so forth, so we stay connected.
Right, and he'll probably come back after he's made it big in Hollywood, you know.
I hope so.
Well, that would be great.
Yeah.
All right. What piece of music do you have next?
The next piece is Angelic Star by Yukiko Nishimura.
Kathleen, you mentioned that the youth come from Rhode Island and Connecticut, so you're in a perfect spot being down in Westerly. And people can be, right over the river, Pawcatuck and that area?
Yes.
All the way
we
over
even
to...
have some kids that come from Jamestown.
Oh, well, in the other direction.
Yes.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yes. Yeah, so it's a wonderful thing.
So when the people get together, do you rehearse every week, every month? How does that work?
We rehearse for 12 weeks in the fall and 12 weeks in the spring at the Central Baptist Church Fellowship Hall on Elm Street in Westerly.
Oh, and is anyone welcome to stick their nose in?
Anyone can come any Tuesday night except for school vacations. We are there from 6:30 until 8:30.
Now this is pretty much what you do, right? These are your babies, right? This is what you do for the year.
Yes, we are like a big family. Mm-hmm. We have snack time. We actually, since the pandemic, I've realized, and I think many people have, connection is key. So I give the kids an 8-minute break every week. Sometimes we have cookies. Sometimes we have chips. We have very rarely apples. But we have little treats, and we get to talk, and the kids become very close friends. They become like siblings, really. And that's just as important, honestly, as the music is the connection.
Now, I just want to, I'm trying to figure this out in my head. 12 weeks and then another 12 weeks. That's 24.
24 weeks.
So that means you don't even work half a year.
No, no. But you know what? In the summer, on July 7th to the 11th, I have the Westminster Summer Strings Academy in my backyard.
there
We have
you
a
go.
3-car garage. We open it up. My husband calls it Tangleweed. And on the Friday of that week, will be the July 11th, we have a little concert. We have arts and crafts. We have chamber groups. We have an ensemble. It is so much fun. In fact, I even take some students that are not even playing an instrument at the time when they are accepted to come to the camp, and then we introduce them to an instrument. So
Wow.
it's really fun. And this is the 15th year I've been doing that, Westminster
Excellent.
Summer Strings Academy.
All right. Well, we'll have to find out more about that later, but let's get back to the music. What do you have next?
Next is a Minuet and Bourrée by Handel.
Kathleen, we have time for one more piece of music before we take our first break. What will that be?
This is In the Bleak Midwinter by Gustav Holst.
All right, we'll listen to that, take a short break, and be back with more. The Westminster Youth String Ensemble is the subject of tonight's Conducting Conversations. I'm Mike Mano, very pleased to be sitting with Kathleen Carter Monroe, who is the director, founder, chief cook and bottle washer, president, CEO, everything for the Westminster Youth String Ensemble. And Kathleen has been a frequent guest on the show, and we love to keep up with what the young people are doing, and we've been listening to some great music. But today we're specifically talking about a concert being held when?
April 27th, Sunday, April 27th at 3 o'clock at the Westerly Armory.
At the Westerly Armory, 41 Railroad Avenue. Can't miss it. It's just down the street from the train station, right?
Yes, it's a wonderful place to play.
And not far from a Honeydew Donuts.
No, and Vesta Bakery. What a bakery.
Oh,
just saying.
Well, just saying. Okay, a little free advertising there.
Yes.
We've been listening to some music that the ensemble has played in the past, and we're going to continue to do that with some recordings from past concerts. So what do we have next?
This is a Divertimento number 14, Kerschel 270 by Mozart.
Kathleen, when we talked about the upcoming concert in just 2 weeks, we didn't mention in this segment that you also would love to have a food donation, right?
Yes. A non-perishable food item to be donated to the Johnny Cake Center in Westerly.
A wonderful, wonderful organization. So please bring that along with you, and we'll keep going with the hit parade. What's next?
The next is Symphonie Concertante No. 1 by Joseph Boulogne, the Chevalier de Saint George.
Once again, Kathleen, I think we have time to squeeze one more in before the break. What will this one be?
This is Canon in B Muse by Cheryl J. Atwell.
We'll give that one a listen, then take a short break and be back with more. The Westminster Youth String Ensemble, subject of tonight's Conducting Conversations. I'm Mike Mano, sitting with Kathleen Curran-Monroe, and we've been listening to music from her group, and they are putting on a concert coming up in just a couple weeks on Sunday afternoon, April 27th at 3 p.m. at the Westerly Armory on Railroad Avenue. We'll recap that for you again one more time at the end of this, but Kathleen, I know that you mentioned 12 weeks and 12 weeks and then a summer program and rehearsals and concerts, but you do other things too, right?
Yes, I feel that it's very important for these young musicians to know that they can make a difference in the world and the community that we have. There are many people that are in nursing homes and that suffer from dementia and Alzheimer's, and I try to bring students to perform in the nursing homes for these people that are there. And it's really gratifying for the kids, and the adults love the children. And so that's one thing that we do. It's called Community Outreach Program, and it's an invaluable service that we do, but it also feeds the young musicians to let them know that they do count, and it makes them feel really good about what they're doing.
Their music makes a difference.
Yes, definitely does.
All right. We have a couple pieces you're going to let us listen to now. What are they?
The first is King Henry's Choice by Keith Sharp, and the second is Portal Gates by Larry Clark.
Kathleen, we've talked about the students and playing in facilities and the concerts that they do every year. There's always a spring concert and then a holiday concert too, right? That
Yes.
You do. And then as well as the summer programs and it keeps everybody busy. And I'm just wondering, do you ever have a chance to play with them? Do they?
Yes,
Yeah?
I do. Yes,
Oh, cool.
I do. Usually one of the pieces we have our mentors. We have two violinist mentors who come every week to rehearse, and they coach and mentor the young musicians. And usually I will play with them, and my sister will come and play the viola with us. So we have a professional quartet that will also play something.
So have you ever had your niece come down and play with you?
No.
Well, now you have a famous niece.
Yes, I do.
She was, or I guess is always, once crowned, always crowned,
Yes.
Miss Universe.
Yes.
And
2012, Olivia Culpo.
Olivia Culpo, and she got married over about a year ago,
Yes.
and now a baby's coming.
Yes, she's
And I
having a
hope that's
baby in
public
July.
knowledge. I hope-
Yes,
yeah,
yes, it is.
I didn't
It's
just
public,
scoop everything.
No, it's public knowledge. Yes,
And it's too bad about her husband. He's that weakling guy from.
yes.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah, I think he's going to play again.
He's a football player for the San Francisco 49ers, and very, very famous, good-looking guy.
Yes.
So they ought to produce a pretty good-looking baby, I
I
would think.
think they're beautiful people. Christian McCaffrey and Olivia Culpo.
There you go. And I think you should get her to come and play. She plays the cello, right?
Yes, she does play the cello. I don't know if she practices very much recently, but I would love to have her come. But she does live in California, so we should have to make a special trip. She might.
You never know.
I'll ask her.
All right. I think you should. All right.
Thank you.
And if you'd like, I mean, I'll be happy to attend and introduce her.
Okay. Oh, wouldn't that be a fun plan? Yes.
Sounds fun for me anyway.
Yeah, sounds great.
All right. Let's get back to some music. And you have another piece for us now. Tell us about this one.
This is a Bourrée from Sonata in G, Opus 1, Number 5 by Handel.
Kathleen, we've listened to a lot of great music. Thanks so much for coming in. It's always a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you, Mike. It was great to be here.
And one more time, it's going to be the spring concert for the Westminster Youth String Ensemble Sunday, April 27th, 3 o'clock at the Westerly Armory, right on Railroad Avenue. We have one piece of music left. What will that be?
This is the Vivace from the Concerto for Two Violins in D minor by Bach, John Castori, and Maeve Lemus, violinists. They were our mentors at the time that this recording took place in 2023.
Excellent. Thanks again, Kathleen. And the rest of you, we'll see you next time on Conducting Conversations. Conducting Conversations was brought to you by Roberts Musical Instruments, using music and the arts to keep your child educated, entertained, and having fun. Roberts Musical Instruments is your key to musical success. Call 823-5459. That's 823-5459.